Skip Slyfield is here. Skip, tell us a little bit about, what these planes are doing here.
Well, actually, this is the Utah wing of the Commemorative Air Force, and it's an organization that's nationwide. It's committed to restoring, flying, and maintaining World War II aircraft. Actually, we've just expanded that to Vietnam as well, so Korean War, World War II, and Vietnam vintage aircraft.
So tell me a little bit about some of the planes that are part of the Air Force.
Well, up here in the Heber area and at the airport, we of course have the PV-2 Harpoon bomber. This was a Navy bomber that was built in 1944, saw action in 1945 against the Japanese home islands. Over there is the Stearman, which you'll be in here pretty quickly. A little bit breezy ride for you, but you got the right kind of jacket on. That, of course, was built in 1941 and was used as a primary trainer for most of the pilots, both Army Air Corps and Navy, that eventually flew in the war. That one particular aircraft was a Navy trainer. Then we also have a C-45, which we'll look at a little bit later, which was a patrol aircraft based in Honolulu during World War II. A lot of these aircraft had second lives after combat. This particular aircraft was an aerial sprayer, and the Stearman that we'll fly in was also an ag sprayer as well. And as these aircraft became more and more scarce, there have been stronger and more more effort put into bringing them back to flying. I think one of the things that I like most about it is that when I get a veteran, an 80-year-old, come up and touch one of these airplanes, and you can see the years just melt off of him, and he can remember when he was 19 or 20, first time climbing in one of these aircraft or flying them in combat. So that to me is very gratifying.
We're sitting here in the cockpit of a Lockheed Harpoon. Steve, the operations manager for the CAF, tell us a little bit about this plane.
This airplane was built in 1944 by Lockheed. It's a follow-on of their PV-1. This is a PV-2. The Hudson was a PV-1. Built actually for the British early in the war, and then flown by the U.S. Navy, and the PV-2, its follow-on. The U.S. Navy used the airplane primarily in the Aleutians, and Attu is the end of the island chain, and we've got nose art on this airplane commemorating Attu, calling it the Attu Warrior. He has restored a lot of the interior of the airplane to put back the stock military equipment. He's got a gun turret on the top, he's got guns in the nose. And this airplane had a crew of 7, a pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer who sits right behind the pilots, a navigator, and this is the navigator's table. He gets the big table because he's got big maps. A radioman who is aft of the navigator, and then 2 gunners. You have one in the turret gun, and there was a ventral gun position at the rear of the aircraft. So those are the 7 crew members, and as you can see from the video, the airplane was not designed for ease of moving about inside. It's strictly a functional military airplane.
Can't wait to see this thing actually up in the air.
Well, it's an exciting thing to see up in the air, and it makes enough noise that you know it's coming, but it's a beautiful sound, and so it's very exciting to see it fly.
Tell me a little bit about this plane.
Well, this aircraft is pretty much stock. It's painted up as it would have been in Naval Air Station Corpus Christi when the first young pilot would sit in at age 19 or 20, oftentimes when they started. The only difference in this aircraft is we have a 450 horsepower Pratt & Whitney in it as opposed to the stock 220 or 300. And it's kind of nice to have, as you're going to find out here momentarily when we take off here at this altitude. It gets up and goes pretty well.
And, so this was a trainer. So what sort of things did, were the instructors trying to teach the students with this kind of plane?
Well, it would be the basic sort of military flying. Of course, takeoffs and landings, and then basic aerobatics, some formation flying. And then from this, they would then, well, of course, they would solo in this aircraft to get a certain number of hours. I think it was about 100, 125, something like that, maybe not that many. Then they would go into another training aircraft like an SNJ or a T6, which is a more advanced monoplane with a cabin in it, with a canopy. And then they would, from there, they would learn combat formation flying, some air-to-air gunnery, and then carrier landings if they were Navy guys.
Now, you normally, on a daily basis, fly the Boeing 777. Is it fun getting out of that plane with all its modern avionics and computers and everything and grabbing a good old-fashioned wooden stick?
It's a lot different, that's for sure. Yeah, as you can tell, there's about 6 switches in this as opposed to the 777, which is a totally automated aircraft. And it also is a wonderful airplane to fly, but this is as basic as it gets. And as you're going to find out, a little windier and noisier than what you're used to when you jump into your 767 to go someplace.